Welcome to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. Every Wednesday, Mark and Kim, along with their special guests, will explore thought-provoking topics and ideas that promote creativity, self-help, healing, happiness, and well-being to inspire you on your spiritual journey. Each week, Mark and Kim will discuss different paths to achieving a more spiritual, balanced, happy, and healthy lifestyle. Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience, and all things spiritual. Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. Mark and Kim are tested, certified, and professional spiritual mediums, metaphysical teachers, healers, and spiritual advisors with their own individual spiritual practices in Seattle, Washington, and Los Angeles, California. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be at in this amazing yet small planet of ours. This is Inspired Living Radio here on OMTimes. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon or this morning, wherever you're at in the world. We have our inspired listener community that's listening in from England to New Zealand to here in the United States, and we want to just thank you so much for being a part of our Inspired Living community. I am happy to report that our Facebook page, Inspired Living Radio, officially went over our 1,000th members. We have over, I think we're pushing close to heading for 1,100 now. So if you want to get on the conversation, you can head to our live Facebook feed right now and ask your questions for today's show. We do this every Wisdom Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. I am your co-host, Mark Lanehart, the Intuitive Prospector. And if you want to work with me here in the Pacific Northwest of Seattle, Washington, I would love to work with you. You can head over, you can find me at marklanehart.com. You can also find me over on Best American Psychics, bestpsychicdirectory.com, famouspsychicmediums.com, and I'm part of the OMTimes platform. So here for the live radio show of Inspired Living Radio, OMTimes Magazine every Monday morning for Metaphysical Mocha Mondays with Mark. We do that Facebook Live and have a lot of fun, and OMTimes Magazine. All the way across the United States in the lovely state of Virginia is my co-host, Kim Thalken, founder of Love First. She's joining us live right now. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Well, hello, Inspired Community, and hello, Mark, my dear co-host that makes me smile every week. As Mark said, I'm Kim Thalken, founder of my bi-coastal spiritual practice, Love First, where life transformations happen in the beautiful states of Virginia and California, where the goal is to raise consciousness one soul at a time. If I can help you to transform your life so that you can heal what needs to be healed and move forward living the life you're meant to live of joy, through readings, energy healings, or using the power of your mind with hypnotherapy, please reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. You can find me at lovefirst.info. That's lovefirst.info. I have exciting news that I'd like to share. I've shared it a little bit on social media, but I have just officially been approved to be a reader for the Edgar Cayce's Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So I will be participating in their fairs that they have. I think they've got their next one will be April 1st, which I believe I will be one of their readers for that fair, and I'm just looking forward to it. I understand that they put on quite an event, and just aside from that, the organization just has so much to offer by way of learning. So they've got a retreat. They hold retreats and workshops. There's even a university that's a part of this organization where you can get certifications and learn all kinds of things. As you know, Edgar Cayce did quite phenomenal work in this area. So I encourage you to check them out at edgarcayce.org. And I am excited to make that announcement. I hope I get to meet some of you folks in the Virginia area. I'm really enjoying my time out here and the people that I've met so far. So, yes, so thank you for being with us today and every Wednesdays. As Mark was saying, you can find us all across social media. under Facebook at Inspired Living Radio. Mark, our community continues to grow, and it's just so exciting. You can find us on Instagram under Inspired for Us, Google Plus, Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. This is where you can interact with us. You can learn about upcoming shows and be a part of inspirational posts too, all things positive, which is what we need more and more, it seems, these days. You can listen to all of our archives on OMTimes Radio, Podbean, SoundCloud, markleonhardt.com, YouTube, and iTunes. So if you missed a live broadcast or you just want to listen to the show again because it was that good, you can find us on these different platforms. Everything moves to an on-demand platform, and you can also call in live with your questions for our guests, and we've got a really interesting and exciting guest. I know Mark and I have been talking about, wow, this is going to be a really cool show. The number 202-570-7057. That's 202-570-7057. And as you know, with every month, we do have an inspired affirmation. The month of February being the month of love, so is the affirmation, which is, I encounter love in all my relationships, and I love the encounters. Back to you, Mark.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations on becoming a reader for the Edgar Cayce Foundation. If you guys don't know Edgar Cayce, just do a Google search and look for the Sleep Prophet. He has thousands of readings. I know that there's a museum there, and when I come out to do our Inspired Living conference there, Kim, I hope that we can journey down and take a tour of that. But congratulations. I need to get one of those clapping machines here in the studio so I could have, put that on the air for you and give you a hand clap.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, that was quite the interview process. I tell you, I joke about it because I thought like that those kind of interviews were done when I left the corporate world, but I guess not. It was around some interviews and a test reading. So yeah, it was kind of a great experience and a great outcome. That's even better. A great outcome.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well,
I need to do some clapping over here too, Mark, for all the things that you're doing. I see all your events and platform stuff. So.
Yeah, crazy, huh? Right. It's good stuff. But as ambassadors of spirit, we have to be tested. We have to, because people are coming to us, and we want to make sure that we're tested and validated and have, those certifications. And I commend you. I know that was a tough, but I don't think the interviews for you are over. I don't think that's your last interview. So congratulations.
Mark is the bearer of great news. All right, bring it on.
All right. Well, I love that we're going to have this show. I've been looking forward to this guest for a couple weeks. I do want to give a couple Inspire Living shout-outs. I know that we just talked about our Facebook page growing. We have 1,033 members. We just grew by 2 more members. 2 more people just joined the Inspired Living Radio Facebook page. Want to give an Inspired Listening shout-out to Kathy Atherton Spencer and Nicole McDonald, who both just joined the page. Again, if you guys want to ask your questions, we'll start loading up the phone lines here at 1-202-570-7057. You're going to want to call in and talk with this gentleman. So we're going to be talking today about the real X-Files and paranormal investigations. So I've been very interested in this kind of genre and this kind of research for years. And I was talking with John before we went live on the air, and NASA just had a huge announcement. I watched the whole Facebook Live where they announced that they have discovered just outside of our universe 7 planets in its own solar system, with 3 of them being Earth-like and within what they call the Goldilocks zone. So that's a very big announcement, and they're using, the telescopes of Kepler, Hubble, getting ready to launch the new space telescope Webb, which will give us the ability to see even farther into our unknown universe. And that's why I said our small planet for today's episode, because we really are just one small planet in a vast amount of universe out there. But it was pretty big news. So if you guys haven't heard it, head over to NASA, check out their big announcement of discovering 7 Earth-like planets all within the Goldilocks zone and capable of sustaining life out there. And so I thought that was cool that we would tie that into today's show. So John DeSouza, I hope I said his name right here, known as the X-Man, former FBI Special Agent Investigator for over 20 years and collector of the real-life X-Files. He's also the best-selling author of The Extra Dimensionals and a leading investigator in the paranormal and exopolitics. We'll talk more about that. And has researched and collected experiences on paranormal and spiritual topics for over 2 decades. Previously, he was an investigating official of the U.S. government who maintained a top-secret clearance. I, with a background in government, know that having a top-secret clearance is just not giving out to everybody. Officially for the U.S. government, and with his top-secret clearance, he spent many years at one of the major three-letter agencies. He labored in the fields of the GWOT, Global War on Terrorism, and the WAD, War on Drugs, along with the FBI. Currently, John serves as the author and chief editor of The Age of Mass Awakening, that's TAMA books, and he's got an upcoming event where he's going to be the featured speaker at UFO Con in San Francisco. I am happy to welcome you to Inspired Living Radio, John. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mark, Kim. It's great to be on here with you guys. It's absolutely wonderful. Kim, congratulations again, Kim, on becoming an official reader for the Edgar Cayce Foundation. That's a great accomplishment. I know you didn't just walk on that. That's an amazing accomplishment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, we're excited to talk about all of your accomplishments today, too.
Thank you. For your audience, my name is John DeSouza. I was an FBI Special Agent for over 20 years. During that time, I worked mostly counterterrorism investigations and also violent crimes as well. And also during that time, I had experiences of the paranormal, and I collected what I like to call the real life X-Files, which I share with people now in my books. Both books I've done past and also the present, which is my book, The Extra Dimensionals, True Tales and Concepts of Alien Visitors.
All right. So we're just getting started, people. So hang in there. We'll be back in 2 minutes. This is a show that you're not going to miss. Call into our live call-in lines if you have questions, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. Stick around.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts Yelito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Share International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
Are you seeking answers to life questions? Would you like to connect to a departed loved one? Are you suffering from pain, stress, or anxiety? Kimberly Thalkin is a tested, certified, and professional psychic, spiritual medium, energy healer, hypnotherapist, and the founder of Love First, where life transformations happen. Love First services support, guide, and empower individuals by connecting them to their highest potential to live a healthier, joyful, and meaningful life that's filled with purpose. All services can be done by phone, Skype, or in person in Encino, California. Please visit lovefirst.info. That's LOVEFIRST.info for more information.
There are many sounds in your daily life. Ones that make you smile. Ones that help you relax. And there are some sounds that can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you critical information about emergencies in your area. With updates from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Inspired Living Radio here on OMTimes. Thank you so much for joining us on this, what I'm calling Out of the World radio show. Today's special guest, John DeSouza. Right, we timed that break perfect, John. Let's get into the good stuff. Let's talk about the real X-Files and the paranormal investigations, and about your book about extra dimensionals. What is the story behind extra dimensionals?
Well, The Extra Dimensionals is a book of very shocking conclusions that have been led to by my investigations. Basically, that's the only expertise I claim, is to be able to investigate matters that others have looked at with maybe a different perspective. In ufology, a lot of the same conclusions have kind of been spinning around for the last 50, 60 years, and there hasn't been that much progress. And I've looked at some of these cases, along with some new cases that I deal with in my book, The Extra Dimensionals, and I'm able to come to some extraordinary conclusions. And I can tell you the end from the beginning here. My most shocking conclusion, and I travel around the country, and usually the heading that I use is, I am here to suggest the unthinkable. And the primary unthinkable suggestion that I have, the investigative conclusion that I've reached, is that alien visitors are real. They are visiting Earth along with supernatural UFOs. And these are, of course, a very small percentage of the overall UFO experiences. The ones that are, it's a very small percentage, but that still adds up to very large numbers of cases that turn out to be genuinely unexplainable and very possibly supernatural in origin. And out of all those cases, the most shocking conclusion I've reached is that alien visitors are not physical. They are not material. They are not cramming themselves into little metal tin cans or discs and sailing across the galaxies to come visit us here physically. Rather, that this phenomena is non-physical in origin, and that it's extra-dimensional. They are actually coming here from other dimensions, not from our reality. And so that's difficult for people to accept, because they want to believe in the doctrine of alien imminency, that they're out there, that at any moment NASA is going to contact them. They're going to sail right here they're going to land on the White House lawn. They're going to be in these metal discs, and they're going to come spilling out and start handing out the grab bag of goodies to everyone. And that's Extra Dimensionals. The primary conclusion is that. And in the book, it actually builds the case and the evidence, and going through the cases, matching up clues, matching up patterns from various different cases to show that it's like John Keel and Jacques Vallée have said, this phenomena does not behave like a physical phenomena. It behaves like a spiritistic phenomena. And because they're not here on a consistent basis. They don't stay. They don't have a prolonged presence. And instead, what they do is they do this peekaboo sort of process that we see all the time. They appear, people have contact experiences, observation experiences. Sometimes people have abduction experiences. But everything apparently seems to be temporary. There's no giant presence. There's no procession that, according to logic, should be going on. So extra dimensionality is like a bad penny that always keeps coming back, no matter how much people try to deny it, that basically the alien visitors, they are real, but they're not physical. They are coming here from other dimensions of time, from outside of time and space. That's what it boils down to.
And John, in your opinion, I mean, in your experience, what is their purpose for coming here? What is their intention by doing so? And have you had any direct experiences yourself in that way?
Yes, I have. When I was a child, I had an observation experience. I had a contact experience also. But one of the things I'm told is that as alien visitors, they examine certain individuals to see if the bloodlines are acceptable to them, or interesting, or important to them. And those they test certain individuals, and if they find those individuals to be desirable to them, then they keep on having those experiences again and again, and it can even go from one generation to the next generation, and so on. But if they find individuals that for some reason are not, and I would say in my own case that was the case, for some reason I was distasteful to them somehow, and I had a couple of experiences at the age of about nine, and then nothing else ever again. And I can tell you, my first experience was when I was about 9 years old. I was in New York City with my parents. We were at a party somewhere in an urban area, and I was the latest I'd ever stayed up at that time, along with a lot of other little kids who were at the same party of about maybe a couple of hundred people or more. And me and a bunch of little kids spilled out into the street at night. It was very late at night, and we went out and under the stars, and we were playing tag and Ring-a-Levio, if anybody remembers that game, and lots of other things. And anyway, one of the other kids hit me in the stomach. I fell down on the sidewalk, and one of the kids said, "Oh, he's hurt." So they all did what kids do. They ran back. And I was left out there, and I was between two tallest buildings I'd ever seen. I looked up into the sky, and there was a very starry night, a lot of stars out, but there was a section of the sky right above these two buildings that was blacked out. I couldn't see any stars there. And as I looked closer, it turned out to be sort of like a black ink cloud up there. And I guess kept looking at this sort of cloud of ink up there, like the kind of squid would give off in the water. And from the bottom of this cloud came this, it looked like a flying saucer. There's no other way to describe it. Maybe 50, 60 feet in diameter. And it was coming down towards me. It had a light spinning in the bottom of it. And it started coming down towards me. Two teenage girls appeared on my right. I was standing by now. And I was looking straight up at it, and it was coming towards me. And there were two teenage girls on my left, and they were looking at it also and screaming. And they screamed at me, "You better run home, little boy." And then they disappeared. And then I just felt like I was hit by a spotlight. And I looked at the thing, and me and the saucer both changed our minds at the same moment. I took a step back, and the thing reversed course and started going right back up. And like a cartoon character that kind of jumps in a hole and pulls a hole in after it, it went back up into the cloud, and then the cloud disappeared. It was gone. And so that was my first observation, sort of contact experience that I had. And it was after that I became very interested in UFOs and what the deeper meaning was of UFOs after. And I had one other experience also that kind of reinforced my feelings on this being possibly a spiritistic phenomenon as well as physical. I think also.
So what? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
And then when I was in the FBI, I had an experience of the paranormal that occurred to me. That's in my first book, The Para Investigators, which is True Tales and Concepts of Supernaturally Gifted Investigators, which I would argue probably a lot of people in your audience would fit into that category, because many people who investigate these areas whether you're a medium, whatever your spiritual talents are, a lot of people happen to be, they investigate these areas and they happen to be supernaturally gifted as well. So anyway, my first book, The Investigators, I write about my first experience while I was in the FBI. That was of the supernatural and the paranormal, which was we call it the Indigo Kids of 9/11, which was basically when the 9/11 terrorist attacks occurred on the World Trade Center. There was a large group of kids, little kids, I would say ages 5 to 11 years old, all across the country in many different jurisdictions, that had visions and dreams, foreshadowing dreams, and experiences where they visualized what was going to happen on 9/11 during the terrorist attack in the weeks before it happened. And many of these kids were, after 9/11 did happen, and there was a lot of hysteria over see something, say something, anything at all that could have a connection to terrorist attacks, a lot of adult caretakers reported the incidences that happened with these children. And so what happened was all these kids had to be interviewed by law enforcement for any possible connection with terrorism, and their families for any possible connection with terrorism. And we're talking about experiences like there was like a little boy would draw a beautiful finger painting, and teacher would say, "Oh, that's beautiful. Those two buildings are glowing like that, very beautiful. And these angels flying away from the buildings with these red wings on them. That's very, very beautifully done." And the little boy would say, "Those buildings aren't glowing, they're on fire. And those aren't angels, those are people who are on fire, and they are jumping out of the buildings." And the teacher would be a little put off by it, but she would just chalk it up to, it's just the imagination. But once the incident happened, 9/11 happened, then teachers and babysitters and caretakers reported a lot of these incidences. Another little girl, if I have time, for instance, she was on the playground by herself. A teacher walked around and told her why is she by herself. She said she's just thinking, and just walked away. But as she was walking away from the little girl tugs on her skirt very violently and tells her, "Tomorrow, make sure you stay away from tall buildings, because sometimes tall buildings fall down on people, and they can fall down on people." See, there were a lot of these incidents happened all over the country, and they had to be investigated.
Wow, that's just fascinating. And that's our cue that we're heading into our break here, but we will be back in 2 minutes. So stay with us as we continue our conversation with John DeSouza and all of this paranormal activity that we're going to learn more about in 2 minutes. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Have you wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Mark Lanehart, the intuitive prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Mark's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream. Dare to explore. Dare to live. For more information on Mark's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marklanehart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
Sparky the Fire Dog here. Protect your family from fire. Make sure your home has smoke alarms in every bedroom, outside your sleeping areas, and on every level of your home, even your basement. For games and activities, go to sparky.org.
We want to keep you, your family, and your community safer from fire. This message brought to you by the National Fire Protection Association and your local fire department. Visit sparky.org.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. And our special guest today, John DeSouza, otherwise known as an X-Man. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But, John, before we went to break, you were sharing just the amazing stories of how these children had premonitions and visions of what was going to happen before 9/11 did. As we talk about some of these extraterrestrial phenomena that happen here on Earth, help us understand, or if you know, or if you have any information on what is their intention by making contact with us on Earth. Are they supposed to be working with us? Are there things that we can learn from them? Are they trying to learn from us? Do we have answers on that?
One thing that always is very important for people to know is, and I get asked that a lot, is that are they positive? Are they here for positive reasons? Are they here for negative reasons? That sort of thing. And really, I mean, everything that I've seen, all the cases that I go through in my book, The Extra Dimensionals, I mean, shows that both threats really exist. We have alien visitors that are here creating very negative experiences, which the core of negative experiences is involuntariness, doing things against people's will, like the abductions that we see happening. Anything that's against people's will is always bad, but we also see very positive experiences. And I can go into at the core of my book. Actually, on the cover of my book, we can see there's a Travis Walton experience, which is commonly known to a lot of people, which was just a very young man who was a logger in Arizona, in National Park in Arizona, along with another group of loggers. And in 1975, they were in a clearing in the national park, and they were leaving. They were leaving after a long day's work, very hard work day, and a plasma vehicle, flying saucer, showed up just above the tree line, and it was just hanging out there in a clearing, and it was giving off, it looked like luminescent sort of white light coming through the thing, and a young man, Travis Walton, barely in his early 20s, runs out of the truck and runs underneath this craft that they see, runs into a halo of light underneath it. Very foolishly, as he says, and his compatriots wanted to just get out of there, and they screamed for him to stop, to come back, and he just ran underneath the thing, and a sort of a magnetic electricity just came out of the thing and struck him dead. What appeared to be like he was struck dead. His friends took off, and they left, and he was basically just there on the ground, and later, he says that he was materialized aboard a ship, and he woke up on there, and he had some interactions with some alien visitors who tried to restrain him, who they weren't able to communicate with him at all. But here's a story that's very appropriate for you and your audience, because it's something that started out, there's been new information on that case, because it started out as an abduction, and a pretty rough one at that. But now both Travis Walton and myself, my own conclusions have come to the conclusion that that incident was not an abduction at all. It was actually a rescue operation, and that Travis Walton probably owes his life to the alien visitors that brought him aboard their ship that time, because apparently there was another witness who was in the woods at that time, and that person was hunting in the woods with his wife. He was a person who was in the military at the time, and he happened to be at night hunting. I guess you can hunt frogs at night, or certain animals you can hunt at night. And he was in the woods. He stepped out of the woods into a clearing, and on his right he saw the truck with the witnesses taking off. And then he looked to his right, and he saw a scene that shocked him and stayed with him for the rest of his life. And it's on, if a person goes and looks at the cover of my book, The Extra Dimensionals, right now, what he saw is on the cover of my book, which is a very young Travis Walton being risen, being lifted up. And apparently, with his eyes closed, looks like he's dead, and lifted up into the bottom of a flying saucer, a ship, just above the tree line, and just rising up in some sort of a tractor beam or something like that. And when I heard this testimony, I mean, it really captured my imagination. That's why I put it on the cover of my book. And it's an amazing scene. And he actually this new witness actually took a polygraph that he was in the woods, and that showed that he was telling the truth about being in the woods that night and seeing this scene of Travis Walton being lifted up into the ship somehow, into the bottom of a ship. Anyway, so the rest of that story of Travis Walton, of course, people know that those witnesses in the truck, his friends, were eventually accused of murder. Sheriff's office, the state troopers, even the FBI got involved in that, and they were getting ready to charge these young men when Travis was dematerialized from the ship and went back to the forest where he was actually picked up from, and he was dehydrated, and he was very hungry, but other than that, he was pretty much okay, and he was able to rejoin his family. And he also passed many polygraphs that he was telling the truth of his experience and his encounters with alien visitors aboard the ship, which basically they just tried to restrain him. When he was aboard the ship, supposedly aboard the ship, he was restrained. They tried to put him out so that they could return him, and he fought with them a little bit. He kind of escaped into this large area and kind of went on a self-guided tour. And eventually they brought him back under control and sent him back to where he came from. But now Travis Walton believes that he was not abducted at all, that they possibly killed him by accident and found out that they had done this and came back and brought him back on the ship and revived him, basically revived him, brought him back to life. And so it goes from being a story of something terrible to actually turning out to be something that we now believe is a very positive story, because like I said, this was not an abduction. It was a rescue operation. They saved his life.
John, do you know if the guys in the truck also, I think, did they have a polygraph test and they all passed with flying colors?
Pretty much, yes. That's pretty much what happened. And, but I'm not the biggest believer in polygraph tests.
Sure.
The biggest test is the test of time and integrity, like the fact that Travis Walton has maintained the absolute truth of every detail of everything that he has said for over 40 years now.
Yeah.
Without deviation, without any sort of backstep. And the same for his witnesses too, against great pressure to recant, to change their stories. And nevertheless, and I think that is the greatest indicator of authenticity that we can see.
So in your opinion of doing this work, do you think that we're close to having a disclosure coming out about first contact, about UFOs being in contact, different species of UFOs? I know there's been a lot of chatter through the internet and on the social medias about disclaimers of other governments releasing information. Just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Well, all the governments are releasing a lot of information now, ever since right after 2001, all the Western countries and their intelligence agencies started putting declassified documents on the net and putting them out there so that anyone can see them. And we're talking millions and millions of documents throughout the Western world. And if people want to see what I'm talking about, you can just go to vault.fbi.gov. It's a website where the FBI is releasing declassified documents, usually declassified because of age. And there's stuff in there. If you go to that website, you will see you'll see investigations even on JFK. You'll see JFK. You'll see all the great questions that have happened throughout history, and they'll be on that website, vault.fbi.gov. And in there, there's a section if you go to that site on the right, there are subsections on every kind of mysterious area you could ever think of. There's there's an area that says unexplained phenomena, and you can click on that. And then under that, you will see cattle mutilations, you will see UFOs, and you can click on that. And if you click on UFO, you will go to the first group of documents, which starts in 1947. And you click on UFO, go to that first group of documents, and click on that. Then you go to page 22, and you will see the most astounding document that people have ever seen in the history of government archives. It's called a Memorandum of Importance. It is a document dated July 8th, 1947, and it is a document put out by an FBI agent, on page 22 of that first group of documents. And it is basically where I got the title for my book, The Extra Dimensionals, because it is a revelation. It's a one-page document, and there's hardly any strikeouts in it at all. And it basically says there are alien visitors are coming to the Earth, and they will continue to come. However, they are not physical. They are not cramming themselves into little metal ships. They are not sailing across the galaxies. They are instead materializing here from other dimensions, because they are extra dimensional. And it also says in there.
So let's hold right there. Let's pick this back up on the other side of the break here. Fascinating stuff. I could talk about this for hours. We're going to be back here in 2 minutes for the last segment of our show. Stick around. You're listening to Inspired Living Radio here on OMTimes.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Join me, Tammy Adams, intuitive life coach and spiritual healer, for my new show, Karma Talk. Learn how to get rid of your karma so that you can start living the life you are meant to live. I am not going to tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Join me on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time for Karma Talk on OMTime Radio.
America's service members and veterans are strong, forged out of bravery, sacrifice, and duty. Sometimes reaching out for help can be the most challenging and worthwhile mission of all. When you recognize something isn't right, make the call to the Veterans Crisis Line or Military Crisis Line. Dial 1-800-273-8255 and press 1.
Hey, welcome back, Inspired listeners. This is Inspired Living Radio with Mark and Kim. John, right before the break here, we were talking just fascinating stuff. Like I said, I'd love to have you back for another episode or two as we can continue talking about this, because I've been always fascinated with, I think personally, the disclosure statements that are coming out, and that's what you're talking about before we went to break, WikiLeaks. I think that the information is getting out there. And I personally, from my own personal experience, just how I've seen technology in my 44 years advance over the course of my years being here has been amazing. How we're doing the show, how we're talking, your iPhone, computer technology. It's just fascinating stuff, and that had to have come from somewhere, reverse engineered off something, so we could, get to this point.
Yes, and I believe that Roswell, when it happened in New Mexico, as people know, the supposed crashing of a couple of UFOs, possibly a couple of bodies dragged off of there. In this website that I'm telling people to look at, vault.fbi.gov, there's a memorandum in there also called the Guy Hotel Memo. It's pretty easy to find, and it is the FBI supervisor who advises Hoover about Roswell happening, and he basically sends there's a one-page memo there that he wrote in the Guy Hotel Memo, where he basically tells J. Edgar Hoover, Roswell was real. There's a couple of crashed ships there and possibly some alien bodies, and we need to get up on this like right away, because the military's all over it, and we cannot be left behind on this. And that's the recognition right there that Roswell actually did happen, and something investigator had to go forward on it. But I think as I studied Roswell more and more, it looks like one of the purposes of it could have been what you just said, technology transfer to us. The only thing I can't quite figure out is how did they make sure that all the countries get the technology? Because if you give just technology to just one country, then what happens is like world domination of that country over all the others. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, and I will get to that very soon. So,
yeah, I think I found it interesting. I know that some stories tied to Roswell have also had some of the founders of Motorola and some of the companies that have gone on. Maybe it's just given us the basics of their technology, or we reverse engineered what we understood, and then from there we've built out that technology platform. But I just, from a history standpoint, we have our, electricity and our indoor plumbing, and then all of a sudden technology, right around the 1940s, late 30s, early 40s, technology completely takes off. And I've always been fascinated with just the history of our technology. And think about it, we've gone in, 200 years, we've gone from the wagon wheel to the space shuttle to the International Space Station, versus 10,000 years of not progressing. What was that progression,
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, I do believe disclosure is going to happen, but it won't have anything to do with the national governments, whether you're talking about our government or any of the others. It'll be something directly from alien visitors to people like us, people who understand what is going on, and people who are open to these possibilities. That's how I believe it's going to happen. Because, yeah, you're right, technology-wise, we are reaching the point where it's going to be very important for alien visitors to actually come up with something in terms of direct contact and open and massive contact, which is the place that we're heading at this point, because the phenomena, it's becoming greater, not less. It's not leveling off either. It's just increasing contact cases, observation cases, abduction cases, and all kinds of other observable phenomena like cattle mutilations and many others. So yeah, we are getting to that point.
What would your opinion be, John, on some of the skeptics out there that are listening to this show saying that this is just military, that it's just military black ops, operations, secret Pentagon, and that people are seeing something. There's reports all around the world, so people are seeing something. What would you say for those skeptics out there?
There is a large portion. There is evidence for that, and there is, I believe, a large section of UFO, of the small supernatural UFO incidences that are probably attributable to the military industrial complex. and I'm talking at a global level, not necessarily of any one country, but some kind of a global military industrial complex that is somehow, for instance, exactly the Black Triangles. There's these, like we're having in Arizona, we're having the anniversary very soon of the Phoenix Lights incident, which was this large black triangle, which probably is about a mile from wingtip to wingtip, something gigantic that is beyond human capacity.
I remember that case.
Yeah, and that happened more than once, as a matter of fact. It happened 2008, and it happened again later as well. And it was this incredibly large black triangle, and has some lights at the wingtips, and moving very low and slow over a very heavily populated area, seen by hundreds, if not thousands of people, including the governor of the state, who also saw it. And this thing had the ability, apparently, to just be moving at like 10 miles an hour, incredibly slow, over a populated area. And then in another minute, it was able to go, not dematerialize, but go to the horizon into a dot, to be a dot in the horizon in less than a second. And so that's technology that it doesn't appear to be human technology, but those triangles are seen all over the world. And there's
hovering without sound, correct? They're hovering with no sound at all, so it's not a helicopter.
No thrust, no conventional technology that we know of. And that's just not possible under we think possible under human technology. But there's a lot of evidence that the black triangles are possibly of human, maybe breakaway technology, stuff that we just don't know about. And so, that's to say, but that itself is just one small portion of genuinely supernatural UFO incidences. So it doesn't account for all of them. And there's another large section of UFO incidences that appear to be genuinely alien in nature, and that has nothing and does not intersect with the black triangles. So
Yeah, because we can get into, like I said, we could spend hours talking about this. So I think we'll just we'll chalk this up to part one of maybe a 4-part series about the extra dimensionals, talk about crop circles, and just have a lot of fun with this, because I know the inspired listening community out there is fascinated. Like myself, I'm very fascinated with this. But as we start to close down the show, John, I would like for you to give out your book, where it can be found, so people can go out and learn more about you. And you have an upcoming event here in San Francisco that you're going to be speaking at. If you want to talk about that real quick.
Yes, on March 24th to the 26th, I will be in San Francisco, California. We will be having UFO Con, and that will be UFO Con 2017, and that will be quite an event. That will be there with Rosemary Allen Guiley, George Nuri, and many, many others, such as Stephen Bassett as well. So that will be quite an extraordinary event. My book, The Extra Dimensionals, is available at my website, johntamabooks.com, which is John, John, Tama, T, like Tom, A-M-A, books.com. And also, of course, Amazon and Barnes & Noble as well. And in my book, The Extra Dimensionals, I go through and examine very carefully this memorandum of importance that I've been talking about. And I try to illustrate for people why it is the single most downloaded government document in the history of human civilization. It's got millions and millions of downloads, and it's available for free. Anyone can go get it. But it does help if you have someone like me that kind of interpreting it for you line by line as well, so you can really see how shocking this document is. Especially, it would resonate with this audience because you guys understand the ancient Vedic philosophy, and there's a lot of it, and that's what this memorandum is based on. Also, he talks about the talas, and he talks about the lokas, which are the ancient Vedic terms for other dimensions of reality where alien visitors are coming from.
Yeah, it's kind of a paradigm shift when you think in multi-dimensions, because they're not traveling physically through the universe. They're finding different ways to travel, and it's just fascinating stuff. John, I want to thank you so much for being our special guest. Like I said, I'd love to have you back. if you have that link, if you could send that to us or post it on our Inspired Living Radio page where people can actually go look at this memorandum, I think that would be very investigative and very interesting for our inspired listeners out there. But thanks so much. Very fascinating show. We'll have you back on here a little bit later in the year. How's that sound?
Thank you, John.
Sounds great. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Kim.
Well, what a fun show, guys. We have next week. Kim, you have any events coming up here that you want to give a shout out real quick before we end?
Just the one I said earlier, April 1st at the Edgar Cayce Foundation or organization with the Psychic Fair, which will be an all-day event, I believe, from like 9 to 4. So please stop by and say hello there, introduce yourselves. And next week we have Maston Kipp as our return guest, back by popular demand.
Mm-hmm.
So he always has interesting topics and ways of approaching life that we're going to be excited to share with you next week.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm looking forward to that show. We have some more great guests coming up here as we move into spring, into March and April. And again, guys, if you want to catch me every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern over on OMTimes Magazine, I'm doing the Facebook Live, Metaphysical Mochas with Mark. I'd love for you to join in and have a cup of coffee with me. So until next week, be kind, be caring, be compassionate. Namaste.
Namaste.